One. Hey everybody, welcome back How to Tie with your guide, Big Mess from Tuckasegee Fly Shop. Here in my Norvise fly tying system, I have a flashback jigged pheasant tail with a little CDC collar on it right there. This one here is a size 12. It has a slotted faceted tungsten bead on it right there, in kind of a brass color. We're going to tie one of these guys up right here for you and see if we can make this thing, make another one look like this here. So my vise, I'm going to put in a size 12 Hannock. That is a 400 BL. It's a Jigged Classic. And as you can see, I have that slotted tungsten bead on there, faceted. That actually is a 3.5 millimeter, and it's a hairline bead. I'm going to be just using some red thread. I use a lot of red thread on my nymphs. I think you folks probably know that by now. So I'm going to get that started here on my Norvise, and I'm just going to slide this bad boy back here to the back. You've seen how easy that is right there with those Magnum hubs that I got there from Norvise. Our next material, quite simple, is going to be some pheasant tail in natural. Feel free to vary the color that you tie these in. There's a lot of different colors of the pheasant tail feathers out there that have been dyed. So I'm going to tie this in, get it here on top of the hook shank, and then I'm just going to kind of coax that tail length that I want right there and pull it. My next material that I'm going to tie in is going to be some copper wire, just colored there to match the hook, or excuse me, the bead rather. Look at there, big mess, done messing up. So a big mess does. So I'm going to secure that there right quick, and I'm just going to spin this up to the front here to secure that in place. I'm going to put a half hitch in there, get my thread out of the way. And I'm going to adjust the tension on my Norvise so I can wrap this up like so, and wham, just like that. I'm going to stop it about right there because we do have to put some peacock curl in here in just a moment. Don't want to crowd this bead area too much. I'm going to capture that right there. 1, 2, 3. Snip it. I'm going to put a little half hitch. Once again, set my thread over on the bobbin cradle, and then I'm going to counter wrap my wire. You saw that right there, pretty quick using the Norvise. Makes it pretty slick for sure. Got that, and I'm going to wrap back over top of this here momentarily like that. Secure it. I'm going to do the old helicopter. Whammo. Then that's about the end of that piece right there. Going to put another half hitch. All right, so for me, this is the hardest part of this thing. Tiny's up for Mr. David Kitchen up there in Balsam, and he sent me a picture of the uncle pattern that he wanted, and that's what I'm tying. But the flash is actually on the underside here, and so this to me right here is probably the most difficult part of this. So I'm going to set that flashy bew in on my side. I'm going to kind of let that thread tension take it right in there, get it somewhat close, coax it, make some wraps, and I've got it secured in there. And then I'm just going to traditionally wrap that momentarily. I'm going to put a half hitch in it. I'm going to secure my thread over here on my bobbin holder, and I want to take one of these hair clips right here, and I'm just going to clip that out of the way, just like so. I know you can kind of see that. Let's rotate that over. The next material that we're going to use is going to be some peacock herl, and I'm just going to use a couple of pieces here. I'm not going to go too crazy with it. It's really not necessary. I actually took one of these out today and fished one of these, and I caught a rainbow on it. We have a tropical system coming in on us tonight. We're under some kind of watch or warning for the tropical storm. I know those poor people down in the Gulf have been hammered, but those remnants have been making it over top of us here in the mountains of North Carolina. So I wanted to get out. We got a little bit of break in the rain today, and I finally got a day out of the shop off. So I went out, knew I was going to be fighting a little bit higher water, which was fine. I think I probably caught 1,000 birch leaves. I got one rainbow, seen a nice brown trout. I kind of walked up to a high vantage point so I could see that trout. I figured it'd be an area where a male and female could be spawning up there, and certainly seen one, and just watched it, just let it be. There's no way I could get into position for it, but let's let them do their things. So what I did right there while talking was I actually tied in my peacock herl, and then what I did is I made a chenille, and by holding the thread together with that peacock and rotating my Norvise, and as far as I know, that's the only vise out on the market you can do what we just did. I made a peacock chenille in here. So it's about just a few pieces in there, and that's going to be very, very durable. Do this on Prince nymphs, anything with peacock. That's how you make a terrific body for sure. So I'm going to remove my little hair clip right there that my wife so graciously gave up for me. I want to bring my thread back over. I want to come in here and I'm going to capture that flashaboo. Say flashaboo correctly, just like that. And I'm going to fold it back over itself and capture it just like so. So that flashaboo is now tied in. I am going to put one little half hitch in here before I go to the next step, and just kind of rotate so you folks can kind of see that flashaboo in there. So to this point right here, it looks like any regular jigged pheasant tail nymph to this point. But on this one here, we're going to put a little CDC collar. And we're going to do that. I'm going to be using the little clip here that we have there at the shop. You can get from Nature Spirit. We have these here at the shop, and I'm also going to be using a magic eraser as well to hold my CDC. The CDC that I'm using, that I have selected, actually comes from Nature Spirit as well. It's just a regular browning, color right here, and it does a really good job right there. We have this in stock at the shop also. So what you want to do is go through and kind of select one feather. It doesn't take a whole lot. So you can see I've got this one CDC feather right here. So I'm going to take my Swiss CDC tool here in just a second, and we're going to grab it. And it is what they call that Swiss CDC tool. So I'm going to take my CDC. I'm going to stick it into a slot in my magic eraser that's appropriately sized. I'm going to do that. I'm going to capture it here in just a moment. So what I've done is I've stuck that CDC in there. Don't know how well you folks can see that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with the clamp, and I'm going to grab those fibers after I trim off these little butt ends on here. Don't need those. I'm going to come in here and grab that with my Swiss CDC clamp. I'm going to pull that out of the magic eraser with the slots in it. Perfect. So here's what we have. We have that right there inside that clamp. And you see I've got a couple of loose ones. That's fine. Not a big deal. Now I'm going to take some long scissors, and this will be off camera. I'm just going to trim away that little stem right there. Now, with this particular technique, what you can do is you can put some dubbing in here. You can mix some things if you want to with some feathers. You can grab it with this little clamp right here, put it in a dubbing loop, and you can get some really nice effects on your nymphs for sure, or other bugs you might be tying. So in this case here, I am going to do a dubbing loop. This may be a smidge overkill, because at the end of the day, you probably could just tie this CDC in and just wrap it 1 or 2 times. But I like to do dubbing loops. So I've got my dubbing loop right here, and I've got that loop closed. I want to take my dubbing loop spinner, if I can find it here momentarily. I did have it before I went finishing, I promise. Oh, here it is. So here we go. Now I've got that. Now I'm going to take my clamp. I'm going to slide it up into between the thread. Oh, I lost most of it. Sweet. So we're going to do that again. Hey, look at there. Don't you love it when a plan comes together? It didn't. Yowdy, yowdy, yowdy. So let me go in here and get another feather. We'll do that all over again. Believe it or not, that's the first time I've had this happen to me with all of these that I've tied up. And I've tied up quite a few of these here for Mr. David. And they look good, and it actually it worked as well. So it's a good producer fly. Maybe a smidge overkill, honestly. Kind of know my theory. If I can't tie it in 5 minutes, I'd rather not fish it. But that's cool too. Not a big deal. What the customers want is what Big Mess will do. Gonna come in here like so. Gonna grab it again. As you can see, got it just like that. Gonna reach in here, gonna trim out that stem momentarily. Whammo. Good deal. Make sure while you're watching this right here, go down and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you can. And be sure to turn on that bell so you get a notification when some of our new videos come out. Appreciate all the increase in the subscribership. We've grown that quite a bit here this year. And let's try to keep that thing going. See if we can hit 500 here before we know it. That'll be fantastic. So what I'm doing here is I'm spinning up and I'm making that dubbing loop, and I've got these CDC fibers. So all I'm going to do now with my rotating feature on my Norvise, and I have my tension knob down so it's not like a free spin. I'm just taking my finger and I'm rotating that like I would hackle. So I'm going to reach in here like so, and I'm going to stroke those fibers backwards just like this. And by doing it this way, I feel like it's a more durable fly. When it's wet in the water and it goes back and it's taking abuse in the water, bouncing across the bottom of the stream bed, catching leaves, going through the trout's mouth, those fibers are going to stay in there a lot better than if you had just tied a stem in. You're taking it in by the tips and tied it in like that. Plus, it's going to give me kind of a pronounced red collar on this here. And on a lot of my nymphs, I think you'll notice that I use a lot of red thread, maybe kind of my signature. One of the things that I think we need to understand is red works in Royal Wolves and Royal Coachmans and things like that. So if it works on a dry fly, hey, why can't it work on a nymph, right? So for me, instead of changing thread colors, I just keep it real simple on most of the nymphs that I tie, and I just do red. So I did 2 whip finishes on that right there, and that is pretty doggone strong. So I'm going to reach in here with my Dr. Slick scissors, and I'm going to trim that. Now, as far as the CD itself, CDC, not to be confused with the CDs that came out there when I was a teenager in the 80s. We're going to come up here, and you can kind of take your thumbnails and, pinch these off the length that you certainly want, which is nice. And then when that swoops back, and I will tell you, when this guy gets wet, what happens is that these fibers kind of go back, and it really looks like a bubble, almost like an emergence, not quite like a split case, of course, but it's almost like an emergence. And a little bit of that pulsating movement right there may be all the difference between getting a strike or not getting a strike. But it is a good looking fly for sure, good looking nymph there. But you can still see that little you can see that little flashback on the case right there is prominent. But when it gets wet, this is a very dark fly. And a lot of these bugs under the water that we're imitating here are dark in color. So in theory, really brown and black would pretty much cover everything you'd want to cover when it comes to most of your nymphs out there. Now, in the spring, we have some other colorizations. Some of those Calabatus mayfly nymphs are going to be a lot different, of course, as far as the colors on those. But as of right now, if you do anything like with a peacock body or a pheasant tail body, you're gonna be lickety split with that. So what I'm doing right there is taking just a smidge of solar as bone dry. This is some really nice stuff right here. We have this at the shop as well. You can see it has a real thin tip on the applicator, which makes them really for some pinpoint accuracy. And I'm just going to take my torch here right quick, and I'm just going to spin that up like so. This actually cures up pretty quickly, as a matter of fact, so it does a really good job for us. So that bad boy right there is set, ready to go into the fly box, and hopefully into one of those wild trout's mouth for sure. Be sure to give us a thumbs up. Don't hesitate to share videos. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to hit me up. That's Shannon, SHANNON, at tuckflyshop.com. You can give us a follow on Instagram and all the social media platforms. Also, be sure to listen to the Tuckcast with a splash of bourbon, or even better, watch those videos there on our YouTube channel as well under the podcast section. Give us a call, 1-828-488-3333. And I appreciate you folks listening to us. Hey, if Big Mess says this is a good fly, it's a good fly. So it's a good fly. You folks stay cool out there. We'll catch you on the next video.